Hello everyone and welcome back to another Affinity Designer for iPad tutorial. I am your host, Elias Sarantopoulos. This time around we will learn how to create isometric design by first drawing our letter and numbers on a flat piece of paper and then transfer that to a triangle grid. In continuation, inside Affinity Designer, we will use the triangular grid and together with the pen tool, we will complete the isometric design. As a final step, we will color, apply custom patterns and shadows to our isometric design and give it more depth. So, drawing isometric letters or numbers, you will need a paper with a grid of squares as I have here to help you draw the flat letter and see the horizontal and vertical lines. That will help you structure the letter so when you move into a 3D grid, you will know where to draw the lines. And speaking about 3D grid, here I have a triangular grid paper. So basically, whatever I see on the flat version, I will be drawing it on the triangular grid paper as you have here, starting from the bounding box and then count the squares for each letter or number. So let's go ahead and start this process. And I'm going to start first with the letter A. So the letter A will occupy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes tall by 1, 2, 3 and another 3 here. So 6 boxes wide. Okay, so I'm just gonna close my box right there. Okay, so I'm gonna use my marker here and I know that the letter A will occupy those 2 spaces at the bottom, those 2 spaces here too, those 2 spaces on the top. Okay, then I'm going to connect this point, this outer point with this outer point, and so we can have a diagonal line here, another diagonal line there, like so. Then I'm going to be right here in the middle of this box, halfway through of this box, halfway of this box. And I'm going to connect those 2. Again, another diagonal line. Here too. And then just going to have a straight line there. Then I'm going to have one point here. Again, halfway through this box, halfway that box. And just close it. Okay. So that is the letter A. Now, let's go ahead and draw the numbers. So the first number is the number 7. So here, again, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 4. Okay, so 7 boxes long by 4 boxes wide. So here's the bounding box. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and draw the number 7 here. So I know I'm just going to have 2, occupy those 2 spaces here. 3. I'm going to have one diagonal line right there. Let's bring this here. This one 2. Okay, and then I know it's going to go right there and right there. So let's draw these diagonal lines. One here. And one there. Okay, just close that up. So that is the number 7. And then I have another number that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again, and another 4. Okay. So that will be the number 1. So for the number 1, again, we know we occupy those 2 spaces. 2 here. 1 up, 1 this way, and then we have one diagonal line right there. Then this will drop down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more to go down right there. Okay, so this will drop up to here. This will drop up to there. One here, one, bottom across, one there and one there. So that is the number one, okay? So we're done with this. Now we're gonna take this and transfer it into this paper, okay? To the triangular grid paper. So I'm looking exactly here. I know that these are 7 by 6, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there you go, by 6. So we're gonna start from here, let's say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there you go. And we have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there you go. Okay, so then we're gonna drop this here. So here's our bounding box. Okay, so we know the A occupies those two spaces down below. Again, I'm looking exactly what I'm doing here. There are no surprises. We'll get those two spaces on top. There you go. The arrow points will connect. Here's a diagonal line, another diagonal line here. Then I have one in the middle, halfway again. Connect those. And then I'm gonna draw this one here. And then we have one here, one halfway, and another halfway. Okay. That is the letter A. Okay, I'm not gonna do anything yet with it, meaning I'm not gonna go with the Z space yet. Let me continue drawing these because I wanna continue with that now. This is the number 7. So again, we have, maybe I can draw it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 4. Here's the bounding box, okay, for the number 7. So I know it's going to occupy those two spaces here. There we go. 3 on the top. 1, 2, 3. One diagonal line there. Just throw one quick one here. One there. And just again, I'm following exactly what I see here. It's just on a different, grid. Okay, so this line would drop up to here, and this line would drop up to there. Very easy. There we go. That is the number 7. Let's go for the number 1. Again, I'm looking exactly what I'm doing here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 4 across here. Here is our bounding box. Perfect. Okay, so let's draw this again. It occupies 2, occupies another 2. We have a diagonal line there. Okay. Let's draw this one too. This one, we'll get another one here. So these guys will drop up to here, I believe. Which is 5 down. There we go. Quite easy. One there. 2. And then let's do the bottom one. And these just connect and disconnect. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got that done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to erase the bounding box here. So we don't need this anymore. Okay, we're just going to go now drawing the other axis. We have one more axis. So basically, if you think about it, we drew this axis, right? Then we drew that axis. So we have one more left, which is this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start from here, one there, one there. This will extend, so this will drop horizontally to this line. See? This will extend here. It's going to go out to there. Okay, then I have one in the middle here. For this particular, the A, we will be able to see this inside the Affinity Designer when I start working on the grid. You'll see that even better. Okay, so for the number 7, okay, so we have this line, this, I'm going to connect that, connect this one, this will go out, but then it's going to go horizontal with that. So I believe we're looking something there. Okay, that's the number 7, and finally we have the number 1. So it will extend out here. There we go. This here, and then we have this one there, that and that one. Then we have one there too. There you go. So inside Affinity Designer and with a new document open, let's go ahead and set this up so we draw our paths based on an isometric grid. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to the top left corner under the document menu. Then I'm going to tap on the grid options. Affinity Designer does come with a lot of different options when it comes to the grids. So in this case, I'm not going to be using actually a isometric grid rather than a triangular grid, because if you remember, we did use a triangle grid paper. So I'm going to tap on that, then I'm going to tap on the show grid, and the only difference is that the spacing on this grid is a bit too much for my taste. So I'm going to tap where it says 50 points and I'm going to shrink this down to 30 points. Okay, but of course feel free to use your own spacing. Another thing is I'm going to go back to the document menu, I'm going to tap on the snapping options. I'm going to enable snapping, snap to grid, snap to guides, snap to spread, and tap done. Okay, so what are we going to be drawing first? Well, if you remember, I drew the letter A first. So I know the letter A is 7 blocks tall by 6 blocks wide. Okay, so I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to tap on the layers panel here. I'm going to tap on the plus icon to create a new vector layer, which in this case, I'm going to rename this instead of layer 1 to bounding box, because I used the bounding box before to help me lay down the points. So basically, it's exactly the same process here. So I'm going to pinch to zoom in. I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm going to lay down the first point, 1. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points tall, blocks, I should say. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks wide. And let's close this up like so. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to actually lock this layer and then tap on the plus icon to create a new vector layer, which I'm going to rename this to, instead of layer 1, to letter A, just because I always like to be organized. Okay. Again, I'm going to use the pen tool, but this time, let's see, maybe for stroke, I can use a different color. Perhaps this color doesn't really matter at this point. Okay. But maybe a different color. Okay, so I'm going to start looking, but I'm looking at my drawing, and I remember I'm going to start halfway through here with 2 boxes, then a diagonal line all the way at the bottom, and then 2 inside. So I'm going to stop here for a second, and then I'm going to select that point, take the pen tool again, draw the diagonal line all the way down. and one here, because this is easier for me to draw this way. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 2 up, 2.5 up, let's say, something like that, and then midway, halfway through this box, halfway through that box, and then close it up. Perfect. Okay. I think we have one more to go, which is this one here, halfway through this box, halfway through that box, and I'm going to close it up. Very good. Okay. So now let's go ahead and draw the third axis. Right now we use 2 axes. The third axis is like the space, the Z space. So I'm going to tap one here, there, and there. Okay, and close that box. Again, I'm using the pen tool. One here, one there, all the way down like a diagonal line, and then just close it up. That looks good. I'm right here now. 1 point here, one there, one there, and one there. I just have to do a better job. And I'm using the node tool, and I just snapped it there. Okay, that looks good. And I believe I have one more here. 1 point here, one in the middle, one there, and one there. Okay, again with the node tool, I'm just going to make sure this snaps right there. And everything looks exactly the way I want them to look. And if I toggle off the visibility of the bounding box, here is the letter A. So we finished drawing the isometric letter A. Now we will be working for the isometric number 1. This time around, I'm going to draw this the opposite way from the way I drew it using the triangle grid paper. Just because I want to add a bit of variety, which means the bounding box of the letter A basically will be mirroring the number 1. And by the way, I'm also including those drawings into the exercise folder for your reference. Okay, so we know that the number 1 is 7 blocks tall by 4 blocks wide. So again, inside the layers panel here, I'm going to tap on the plus icon to create a new vector layer, which I'm going to rename to bounding box. Okay, so I'm going to just pinch to zoom in a bit, and then I'm going to tap to use the pen tool. So let's say that's the first point here, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks tall, and then we have 4 blocks wide. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see I went the opposite way than the way I drew the letter A. Okay, there you go. Just want to make sure that I'm going to lock this layer so I don't accidentally move it. And then I'm going to tap on the plus icon to create a new vector layer, which I'm going to rename this to number 1, like so. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this. Again, I'm going to tap on the pen tool. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start from here, on there. I'm doing exactly the same as I did before. This is the number 1. So I'm going to have 2 blocks here, 1 there. And just following basically the drawing that I had before. There you go. That looks good. Now let's go ahead and change the color. So we have just a bit difference here. There we go. So this is the number 1. So let's go ahead and draw the isometric view of that on the Z space. In this case, no need to have the bounding box visible. So I'm going to toggle off its visibility. And I'm going to continue using the pen tool. And I'm inside the number 1 layer. So 1 here, 1 there. There you go. That's the first box. I'm going to continue using the pen tool. There you go. That's the second. Well, for that, I'm going to draw one here, one there, one over here. You see, that's another box. And then we have one here, there as well. I'm continuing this. One here. There you go. I believe we have everything except this side here. There you go. So that's the number 1. All right, so let's go ahead and move on for the number 7. Now, what happens here is that the number 1 and the number 7 share actually the same amount of blocks. So 7 blocks tall by 4 blocks wide, which means I can just go to the edit menu, copy this, go back to the edit menu, paste this. So I have this another bounding box, which I can just drag this. Maybe move it here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and create a new vector layer, which I'm going to rename this as well to number 7. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use the good old pen tool, and I'm going to start lay down the points for the number 7, and I'm going to go this way. And again, I'm looking at the reference drawings that I did before. On the grid or the flat version, okay? This is the number 7, so I'm going to toggle off the visibility of the bounding box. And now I'm going to go ahead and continue with the pen tool to draw the depth, let's say the z-axis. That's one box here. That's another box. Okay, and I think we have one more on the number 7, which is right here, like so. Okay, and things look pretty good. All right, so that's the number 7. We have number 1 and number 7. So I'm just going to marquee select this and just move it just a bit. The only thing remaining to do is, let's see, let me create another vector layer here, which I'm going to rename this to dot, let's say, okay? And because let's say I'm trying to do the Affinity Designer version of 1.7, okay? It's just an example. So again, I know I'm going to be going this way. This way, and lastly, this way. There you go. Okay, I can maybe perhaps move this closer. And select all of it. There you go. And maybe I can move also this one closer. Something along those lines. And let's make sure that we don't have the visibility of the grid on. And basically, this is what I'm after, okay? So for the next step, basically what we're going to do is we're going to start coloring things around. All right, so let's go ahead and start coloring our isometric design. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new vector layer. So I'm just going to tap on the plus icon here to create a new vector layer. And I'm going to rename this, instead of layer 1, to BG for background. And then I'm going to tap and hold, and I'm going to bring this all the way at the bottom of the layer stack. Okay. Then I'm going to use the rectangle tool. So I'm going to tap and drag to create a rectangle like so, which also I'm going to give a color, a fill color. Okay. And let's see, I'm also going to make sure that I lock this layer so I don't accidentally move it. Okay. So now let's go ahead and focus on the letter A. Specifically, I'm going to start with the face. In this case, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to duplicate the face. So up on the edit menu, I'm going to copy this, and then back on the edit menu, I'm going to paste this. So as you can see, we have two identical curves here. So first I'm going to focus on the fill one. So no need for stroke. I'm just going to go for fill color. And actually none of my faces here will have any strokes. I'm just going to keep everything as a fill. So for the top one, I'm just going to use the red. For the side one here, the black. There we go. And let me zoom in here. For this one also, I'm going to use the black. And as for that one, I'm going to use the same color as the background. Okay. All right, that's a good beginning, but the question is, what else can we do to take this to the next level? So what I thought about it is actually to apply a pattern on the front of the face. So for that, I'm going to tap and hold and bring this pattern here, a pattern that I am actually supplying, including inside the exercise folder. Okay, just going to size this up just a bit. There we go. So the trick here is to, inside the layers panel here, to just make sure that you tap and hold, and you want to bring this inside the front face so it clips it. You see? So that's inside the boundaries of the front face. Another thing we can do here is actually change the blend mode instead of normal to another blend mode, because I believe this is a little bit too strong. So I'm just going to go for a soft light, like so. Okay, that looks good. What else can we do? Let's go back to the layers here. Here is the curve, the extra curve, the one that I copy and paste. So for that, I'm going to use a yellow color, but the stroke size right now it's only 0.5. I'm going to increase this to, let's say, perhaps 3 or so. But under the Advanced tab and the alignment, just make sure that it sits right on the outside, like so. Okay, that also looks good. There we go. Now, what else can we do? Well, you know, it's an isometric grid, so we also have a natural light, which means we also have shadows. That being said, I'm going to tap on the plus icon to create a new vector layer, which again, I'm going to rename this to A shadow. Okay. Then I'm going to tap and hold, and I'm going to bring this under the letter A. Okay. So in this case, we're going to use the pen tool again. And I'm just going to draw something here. All right. Now this is not done. We want to make sure that there's no stroke, just a fill. There you go, which of course I need to go in and fix this. And I believe I'm going after something along those lines. And okay, now this is not perfect yet. Okay, that's a good shadow, but of course it's a full shadow. So why don't we go ahead and apply another pattern to it? So let's see, I'm going to bring this one, I'm going to tap and hold and bring this one here, like so, okay, which I'm going to slightly rotate. And I'm going to size this down. Okay, so here's the trick here. This is the horizontal lines here. There you go. So I'm going to tap and hold. Again, we're going to clip this inside the curve of the shadow, like so. But in this case, we're going to take this even further and go ahead and mask this. So I'm going to go up to the merge and rasterize icon. And then at the very bottom, I'm going to tap where it says rasterize to mask. Go ahead and tap that. And now our shadow has been masked, actually the pattern. All right, so basically the process is exactly the same for the remaining numbers by adding additional strokes, colors, and patterns. So I hope that gives you an idea how to work with isometric grid inside Affinity Designer. And as you can see, the possibilities are endless. Just take a moment to draw some ideas on paper, follow a similar process, and I'm looking forward to seeing your own isometric designs. Thank you for spending time with me. Let me know if you have any questions below the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share the knowledge.